Y'all, I cannot believe we are halfway through the season and we're bringing it like always. Y'all, I want to thank everybody who has been listening, sharing, liking, commenting, checking up on the women of LRI Infinity Let's Talk, and also inquiring what the guys are doing over there on Let's Talk to Men About It. I want to thank my Argentinian listeners. Argentinian, yeah, I think that's a thing. South African, and also our Mexican listeners. Thank you for listening. I see you there in Canada as well. And we are here to talk to women about their unapologetic stories. You know how we do it. We take the story that we are supposed to tell, we throw it out the window, and we tell the story the way we want to tell it in our own time and in our own words. And in true fashion, we do it exactly how we are going to do it. Warning, in this podcast, there is cursing and adult content.
Hello, my name is Tracie Jae. In business and in life, I am the quiet rebel. I am 48 years old. My zodiac sign is Capricorn. Today, I have done the whole most, and you are listening to LRI Infinity Let's Talk Podcast Season 3, Episode 6.
And I'm LaGina, your host. There are a lot of stereotypes that are put on women, on humans in general. The boxes that are given to us, the check boxes we are supposed to check, that is not our world anymore. And the LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast, we are celebrating the fact that your journey is yours. So I appreciate you again being on the show. I don't know a lot about the way you move, but one thing I do understand is you must be a similar character to a lot of the good women in my life, because when a friend needs you, you step up, you show up, and you show out, even on your busy days like today. So I appreciate you. I look forward to getting to know you more. I want to know, Tracie, about how you grew up. Who are you as a person? Who was your family? Where'd you come from?
Oh, Lord. You asked big questions right off the top. This all good though.
So we jump right in.
No, seriously. So I'm from Houston, born and raised, have only ever lived in Houston, except briefly when I went to college. I lived in Huntsville, Texas, which might as well be Houston. I have two parents, like most people, two parents, but I mean, my parents are married. They're still married, been married my whole life. They still live in the same house where I grew up. I have a baby sister who is not a baby. She's just younger than I am. I'm also a mom. I've got 3 adult daughters. They all have the same dad. I was married to him, but I don't hardly ever call him my husband. And I also was married again. And I'm not now.
And there we are.
So
you grew up, born and raised in Houston, went off to, Houston plus for college.
Right.
What'd you major in? What was your college experience like?
Oh, so let's see. I was in college in 1990, for some context. I went to school thinking that I wanted to be a communications major. And I dove right into communications classes, despite what my college counselor suggested. I did not start off with, college basics like most people suggest. I got in there with both my feet, both my hands, and started doing communications work at Sam Houston. The major was called RTF, radio, television, film. And then it turned out I did not like it as much as I thought I would. I'm a really good writer, and so I followed the path that I thought writers took, and I thought communication was going to be my thing. Well, what I actually majored in at Sam Houston was school rather than communications. and I participated in a lot of extracurricular activities, Delta being one of them. But I also was a founding member of an organization called the Family of Kemet, which was a Black History study group. I was in the student government. I got pregnant and married in that order while I was at Sam Houston. And then I didn't finish right away. So I didn't actually finish my degree until I don't even know what year it was now, but the same year my oldest daughter graduated high school. So, and I did not finish from Sam Houston. I finished from Our Lady of the Lake, which is in San Antonio. But they had a campus in Houston, so I took some weekend classes and some online classes, and as they say, got her done.
Get her done, son.
Yeah, get her done. And I went immediately out of that degree into a second degree and got my master's from Seton Hall, also sort of a hybrid education, half mostly online, but with a few residential requirements there in New Jersey. So, now I have some letters behind my name and stuff, but I didn't want to send my daughters to school and then not be able to say to them that I did it.
Yeah. How important, not only were the letters and I'm telling you what to do, but I'm also showing you what to do. How important was that to you? And what did you major in? What was the point of it for you?
Oh, so I finally got that first degree is in business administration. And I just decided I was just going to finish. How can I finish fastest? What piece of paper can I just bring? So it wasn't even oh yes, I definitely want to be in business and I'm going to study business. And it was none of that. It was, where would these credits transfer that I already have? And which piece of paper can I get the fastest? That's really what it was. I mean, I'm grateful now that I did business because I wound up in business. But that was not the plan. When I went back to school that time, the final time, I had just gotten married the second time. And my husband at the time had 2 bachelor's degrees and was working on a master's degree. And so I was like, I can't be the educationalist person in this family. I gotta show up.
So I hear you mention that you were married twice.
Yes.
Were you married twice to the same person, to different people?
To different people. I tell people now that I believe that I got married both times to give birth. The first time was to my daughters and the second time was to myself.
Ooh, talk more about giving birth to yourself. What does that look like?
So my second marriage was sort of a fairy tale. We were introduced sort of by a mutual friend through MySpace. So that's going to date me just a little bit.
Hold on, let's pause. Let's be friends to everybody. You're going to stop trying to glaze over this. Okay, so y'all, MySpace. Okay. For those of y'all that don't know, and the only reason that I would actually stop and talk about this is because I had an intern, and 2 months ago, I was talking about Facebook, and I told her that you used to have to sign up through your school, and she looked at me like this was like an alien concept. So Tracie, talk about MySpace. Tell them.
Yeah, so MySpace was, one of the earlier social media platforms where you could put all your personal information in there and share your musical interest. And I think it was actually created for bands to promote themselves. But then other people, regular people got wind of it and we started communicating that way. And so I had a little MySpace profile, and my now ex-husband was visiting a mutual friend of ours in the hospital. She was on bed rest, having a baby, and he was supposed to be doing his homework. He was in school at the time, and he was instead surfing on MySpace and ran across my profile, recognized that this friend was a mutual friend, and asked about me. And so instead of her introducing us, he sent me a message on MySpace and said, hey, he told me the whole spiel. He was at the hospital. He was visiting this friend that's mutual to us, and asked if I would go to lunch with him. And I said yes, on the strength of knowing her, who's also a Sarah, by the way. And he's frat. So then so we went out finally, on a Saturday, And the next day, the Sunday, I went to church with some girlfriends, as I had been prone to do on Sundays. And I told them, if this man asks me out again, I have been on my last first date. So it was like, you know, totally swept off my feet, like the whole nine. And I was completely enamored, totally smitten. And I wanted to be his wife from the moment that I met him. And it was, I guess, mutual for a while until it wasn't.
How did your story tell end, or that chapter of a story tell?
So it was kind of rocky, as sometimes marriages can be. He was an associate pastor at a church, so we had sort of that pressure of being a pastor and a pastor's wife. We also collectively had 5 children. Both of us were in school. There were a lot of things that contributed to our not really being able to communicate well. Mm-hmm. Mostly because there was always something else going on, and also because I was so hell-bent on being who I thought he wanted me to be that I neglected to be who I am.
Damn.
And one of the things he said to me more often than anything else was, I don't think I know you, and I would really like to know you. As it turned out, which I didn't really recognize or understand until after we weren't together anymore, is that he was right. He really didn't know me, and he couldn't know me because I didn't know me.
Yeah. I think when I've looked back at several relationships, I always tell people, even with some of the bastards of men that I've been with, and I'm like, no, terrible. When I look back and you realize, you know, you accept responsibility for what you accept responsibility for. And one of those things that I would definitely say is, even when I knew myself how I thought I knew myself, I didn't know myself. And the more I feel like I'm getting to know the version of the person that I am right now in this very moment, and the quicker I am to find that center, the easier it is for me to like articulate, even in relationships with people that are just friends, exactly what you want. You said something that's really interesting to me about you were being who you thought he wanted you to be. And it's so crazy how that statement can just run across the gamut of your entire life. Even when we're talking about college, I did the things that I was told to do because I was supposed to do them. And I come out at 35, and don't get me wrong, I love my degrees. I loved playing softball and doing the parties and planning the parties and being in a sorority and all of these things. But I get to 35 and I don't use the degrees that I had. Now I use the logic and I use everything else, but I wonder what a different path would look like. Do I regret? No. But it's one of those things when you're thinking philosophically, like, if this could have happened, what would have been X versus what's Z now? So I love that you say that. What kind of jobs have you had in your adult life?
In my adult life, I have had a number of jobs, most of which have nothing to do with the degrees that I've earned. And I actually didn't, when I started when I went back to finish the first degree, I was working as a receptionist at a church. Prior to that, I worked in law firms, also as a receptionist. I have been, I've been an egg roll salesperson.
Wait, talk about that. A day in the life of Tracie Jae, the egg roll salesman. Like, tell me about saleswoman.
Yes.
What?
So I worked for a local Asian food manufacturer, Chung's Gourmet Foods. I don't mind saying the name of it. And at the time, Chung's was owned by a Black man, which is also peculiar, I know. It's an Asian food company owned by a Black man who lived in New York. And I got that job towards the end of my first marriage, and it was a temp job that I thought I was going to have for 2 weeks while this lady was out on maternity leave or sick leave or some kind of leave, and then she didn't come back to work. So I was there answering phones for Chung's, and when I had an opportunity to meet the owner, because like I said, he lived in New York and he would come back and forth. And one time he came in and we met, and he's like, "What are you doing answering the phones? You should be doing something else." He asked me if I wanted to do sales, and I didn't know that I wanted to do sales, but it sounded like an interesting opportunity. So I said yes.
An egg roll company, an Asian food company owned by a Black man that lives in New York, and you were an egg roll wrapper seller.
I know, it sounds completely crazy, right?
It does.
I was selling egg rolls, but I was selling egg rolls all over the country.
What does that look like? I mean, who are you selling? Is it like individual, or is it like for real, like to businesses, and you're selling bulk?
Like selling bulk, like to businesses. So like colleges and to hospitals and to and to a few grocery stores as well.
Okay, so you're selling egg rolls to different accounts across the country. Okay, random question, but did you like the egg rolls?
Yes, actually, they're really good. Well,
Okay.
I don't know what they taste like now, but they were good then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, course correcting, back focused. So that was one of your jobs, is you were in an egg roll sales representative.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That is
okay. Okay, I think that may have been one of the most interesting jobs that I've ever interviewed somebody for. Maybe second to one of the guys on Let's Talk to Men About It. He used to can the tuna, the Star-Kissed tuna. Mm-hmm. And so that was pretty interesting too. I love it. So you have been a wife and a mother and everything else. The world tells you what you should look like and how we should act and all these things to be a woman. But how do you define femininity? And then how do you hold on to your femininity as we ebb and flow through bras, no bras, can cuss, can't cuss, this, that, pants, heels? How do you describe your femininity?
So I describe my femininity as evolving. I am about 90% done with what other people decide for me. You know, there's still some remnants because I'm a Black woman who grew up in America and I have Black parents. So there's some things that are programmed that are still part of this, right? But one of the things that I dismissed after marriage number 2 was that because I'm a woman, I have to be a wife. I thought that was a requirement. I thought it was something that it was a box you check off. Like you're a woman, you get married, you have a husband, you have children, right? Like mm-hmm. that's the way this is supposed to look. But I've decided that is not a thing that I need, and I'm grateful to not need that. Now, that's not to say that I won't someday want it again, mm-hmm. But in the past, I felt like it was a thing I needed, or it was a thing I was supposed to do. And I don't want any part of who I am, femininity or whatever, to be defined by shoulds. I just want to, as I say, feed the happy. I want to do the things that serve my spirit, that make me smile, that excite me, and nothing else. So now that's what femininity looks like. It is being in touch with my spirit. It's being in touch with my joy. It is doing the things that make me smile. It is being unapologetically me at all times, and saying, F it. This is what you see is what you get.
Yeah, fuck it. I really had to come to that, especially the older I get, just because I don't have kids yet, or just because I am not in a relationship or partnership. Now the question is not even like hurry up and have kids. They're like, well, do you even want to have kids? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, of course, for me, I want to have kids. How I have kids really doesn't matter to me. Like, I could adopt, I could find a child on the street that needed a mother, or just a loved person. I could vaginally have children. But I've seen that done, and it's not the prettiest thing in the world, right? Like, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's a miracle, but it is not a pretty thing to see.
It's not a pretty thing to see. I've been on the giving and on the receiving end. I've been in the room with some friends who have had babies. So it is not glorious to watch. It is pretty gross, actually. I mean, babies are wonderful, and as you say, they are a miracle, and we're happy when they get here. I would not, trade the people who I gave birth to for anything in the world. They are precious and wonderful, and also it's gross.
And it's gross, period. And, you said a really, really powerful thing that I always talk about. Needing and wanting are two different things. And I feel like, if you need somebody, that's a codependency in a relationship. And I think it is more powerful to want to be with somebody. Yeah. It is so much more powerful to want to be in a friendship, a relationship, a partnership than needing it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And the other side of that coin, or the edge of that coin, also when we're talking about romantic relationships, is that people always tell you how important it is to love your partner. Love. All that's wonderful. But what is more important is that you like them. Is that you like this person that you're spending this amount of time with. And it's important that they like you.
Yeah, like you, not like the person that you're thinking that you want. Yeah.
No. But that they like you, whether you ever change anything about yourself or not. Like, changing should be a thing you do because you're evolving, because you are growing, because you come to some new realizations about life or yourself. That is why we should change. We should not change because somebody else looked at something and saw it as a flaw and said, you need to fix that. Yeah, no, absolutely fucking not. I'm done with that.
Yeah. Y'all, you're listening. Y'all know y'all be listening to this podcast and you pop out the pens and you're like, okay, yes. And on today, absolutely not. No. So, okay, Tracie, what has been a very standout moment, impactful, where you were standing there and you're like, my life's going to change at this very moment?
There is no answer to that question. What I have found to be true in my life is that everything is connected, nothing is wasted, and you never know what's going to be the moment where everything changes. This is the answer to your question, but it's not the answer to your question. So in February of last year, I hosted an event called 100 Voices, and it was a sit-down, face-to-face dinner dialogue with 100 women in Houston about race and culture. I curated the experience. The questions was a shared experience about our lived experience. And that actually turned out to be the thing that has changed my life most impactfully present day, right? When I had that event, I did not know that my life was changing in that moment. I was just searching for a space where people could have this conversation. And you know what happens when you think of an idea and you say, I wish somebody would, or I wonder who is. Oftentimes it's you who gets to be that person. And so this was that for me. Like, I wondered if anybody in the city, anywhere, was having conversations just about who we are as humans and how we came to be these people, and the relationship we have with the skin we're born into. And I couldn't find a place to have that conversation. And so I hosted a place to have that conversation. And then a friend saw that I was doing that in Houston, invited me to come to Seattle to do it. And I said, sure, I'll come to Seattle. but then the world shut down and I couldn't go to Seattle. And then we decided we would try to do it virtually. And so we set about planning to do it virtually. And then George Floyd was murdered. And suddenly this conversation that I was hoping people would have, several people wanted to have it. Mm-hmm. And so then I started getting invitations from other places and organizations and community groups and schools and churches and then my original friend who invited me to Seattle asked me if it would be okay if she wrote her dissertation about my work, mm-hmm. because it had that much of an impact on her, and I said yes. And so now here she's defended it successfully. Now there's a whole ass dissertation out here about something that started as a passion project for me.
What is something that is super quirky about you?
Something super quirky about me is that I blow bubbles as a way to meditate.
She's looking around because she's about to have to show me. Y'all know, like legit blow bubbles.
Yes, like legit blow bubbles.
Wow. This goes to what we talk about with there's no right way to meditate. Not everybody sits on the floor on their yoga mat, crisscross applesauce with their hands perfectly, what is this? The circle with it's a kappa sign to me. But
with the mudras, yes.
The mudras, thank you. So how'd you find bubbles?
So it was kind of accidental. I was unpacking some bags and discovered that I had some bubbles, and I was with a girlfriend and we were in the living room blowing bubbles. And I was like, oh, this feels good. This feels really good. I was like, really, this could be meditation for me. This could. And so we were joking. We were really joking. And I was like, no, in real life, like I'm remembering to breathe right now, which I sometimes forget. Mm. And also when the bubbles come out, I can literally watch the things float away that are giving me trouble or giving me pause. And so it stuck. And actually pre-pandemic, before the Quiet Rebel became what it is now, I was teaching bubble meditation in the park. Like that was a thing.
Are you going to go back to teaching bubble meditation?
I don't know. My world has shifted mm-hmm. considerably. And I think that I would still like to share this as a technique with people mm-hmm. in some way. I was doing that actually through Airbnb experiences and having people who were traveling come and do bubbles with me in the park. And so I don't know. It was cool, but COVID, breathing, people are strained. Have bubbles popping on people that they don't know where your germs been. You can't blow bubbles through a mask. A lot. It's too many things. Blow bubbles at my house now is fine.
The theme of season 3, the ladies behind the mic, it can be a proverbial mic, right? You're out there, you're in the world, people are seeing you, you're teaching, your voice becomes a call and response, you're sharing love through your voice. You are listening to the Lorraine Infinity Let's Talk podcast, season 3, the ladies behind the mic. And this episode is brought to you by the WoMi app. Make sure you download on Google Play and App Store. Follow us on IG at LRI Let's Talk, and DM us if you're interested in being on one of the podcasts. All right, y'all, back to the listen. As a lady behind the mic, what is one of your favorite things you do when you're getting ready outside of blowing bubbles? But what's something that you do to get ready even today? What did you do to get ready to be comfortable to give your energy to a group of people?
One of the things I do is I burn Palo Santo. Mm-hmm. It's it is a fragrance now that has become equated with calm to me. So I do that. Sometimes I walk on a labyrinth. I have a labyrinth in my backyard, and for those people who aren't familiar with labyrinths, it is a circular pattern on the ground that looks like a maze, but it is not a maze. It is designed not for confusion, but for clarity. And so sometimes I will go in the back and walk on my labyrinth. I walk. I walk a lot. That is like my happy place, is being out in the sunshine, walking somewhere. When I was going through my second divorce and also battling some health issues, I my blood pressure was stupid high, and I also didn't have much blood in my body. So those two things really don't go well together. I didn't realize that I was like, my blood count was seriously low, and I had to get a blood transfusion and a bunch of other things. So as a way to like reconnect with my own body, just started walking, and found that it was a good way for me to just like get centered, be centered. So I walk.
So what's something that you have fabulously failed at in life?
What have I fabulously failed at? Well, I have fabulously failed at marriage.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yes. Aside from that, like, truthfully, I've been pretty successful in the things that I've endeavored to do. The things that I've said, this is what I want to do, I've been able to do them. Now, I have also fabulously half-assed some things. And so...
You get snaps for that. That was like the poetic moment.
So, you know, those things that I did not put my whole heart into, or the things I didn't show up 100% as myself, they didn't go as great.
Yeah.
But the things that I decided to do, they usually go pretty well.
I love that. And even you saying that you fabulously half-assed at things, it's sometimes you have to realize how fabulous you are to be able to show up half-assed and do twice as good as somebody else. And once you figure that out about yourself, it's kind of scary, and it raises the bar internally, like not to show up half-assed because you could just be 5 times as dangerous. Right. Just coming with it. Would you rather be crazy rich or deeply in love?
I think crazy rich.
Why?
I've been deeply in love, so I don't need to like check that off a list. I've never been crazy rich though, so I'd like to be.
Can we get another snap moment in? That is great logic. It's if you were checking things off and you've already, you know, like we talked about at the beginning, these boxes were supposed to check off, but you created your own list. And if you're going through checking off boxes, you're like, done that, maybe did it twice, had the kids, have the careers, now for crazy rich. Hi, my name is Tracie Jae.
Yes, I'm Tracie Jae, and I want to be crazy rich. Like, let's do that.
Crazy rich, and you're on your way there. Let's rewind 365 plus days at the beginning of COVID-19 into the 3rd month of 2020, right when social everything started. Yeah. Unrest, unjust, an enlightenment period for some people, not all, and a validation period for a lot of people. They have been saying things that have been going on for a while. What were you doing a year ago that is way different than what you're doing now?
Well, I was teaching bubble meditations in the park, and not planning on pursuing, not knowing that I was walking into what is now my life's work. All of those things shifted for me in the summer of 2020, and I tell people almost every day now, I am in awe of my life. I am. I don't ever want to say like I'm grateful for the pandemic, because a lot of bad shit happened to people because of it, but also because of the world shutting down, and because of people coming face to face with themselves in the mirror, I get to be the person I was born to be. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that the world is in alignment with who I am.
It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror every day if you haven't squared up with yourself.
Yeah. It's a scary place to be if you, one, have never spent time with yourself, and two, if once you do spend time with yourself, you find out that you don't really like that person. That's a scary place for some people to be. I've been in that place. I've been in the place where I could look at myself in the mirror and say, damn, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, you have done all these things, all the other boxes that people have put out there for you. You have tried to be the good wife. You've tried to be the good mom. You've tried to be the good daughter, good sister, good student, good whatever. Here you are. And do you like her? Is she okay? And today I can say I do. I like me very much. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm proud of who I am. People laugh because I take myself on dates. I go to the movies. I go to dinner. I do all the things. So now I do reach out oftentimes because invitations are my love language, and so I will invite people to do things with me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot find a person that wants to do the things I want to do. I'm happy to do them by myself.
Yeah. Y'all, if you have never gone to the movies by yourself, you must. So you're comfortable with yourself. You love your body. Do you consider yourself a sexually enlightened person?
Yeah, I do. Sex is one of my favorite things. And I don't think that you have to have a regular person in order to have sex. And I'm still like learning about myself and my sexuality, right? Because again, I'm a 48-year-old Black girl who grew up in a house with two parents and learned about sex kind of accidentally. And it's something I've been interested in for a really long time, 30 plus years. But also through a very heteronormative lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm finding out that like sexuality, like everything else, is on a continuum, that we all fall somewhere on this continuum, that the things that turn us on may or may not align with our gender, may or may not align with our sexuality. There's so much there to explore. I'm really fortunate that there are men in my life who I can call and say, hey, I got an itch, will you scratch it? You know, sometimes that goes well and sometimes not. Right now it's going pretty well.
Yeah, you are fortunate to have men in your life that you can call. COVID shut me down, and I'm, you know, salty about that still right now, but that is very true. Like sexuality and sex and everything, if you are a lifelong learner, you should lifelong be learning yourself, and that includes your hot buttons and everything else. Like, you know, when you're a teenager, you blow on your neck, you're like, you melt. It's like, whoa.
Right.
And then as you get older, you learn all of these crazy things. Like the things that I learned in my 30s about me as a sexual being have been phenomenal. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like women I know had told me when I got to my 30s, I would love being 30, but they didn't say, girl, you're going to love your sex at 30. Like,
right.
I love my sex.
So the thing about learning your own sex, right, and learning what you love is that when somebody comes at you with the okie doke, it's not okay. It's not okay. You be like, really? I did not sign up for this. You can stop. You can stop. No, thank you. You know, the other thing that I've come to learn about women, heterosexual women, and I can't speak for all heterosexual women. I'll speak for Tracie. Here's the thing I learned about me, right? That when I was in love, even when the sex was bad, I would just suck it up, get over it, because I am in love, right? And this person meant more to me than my own pleasure. Well, now I don't have the handicap of being in love. And so my pleasure is really important to me. Mm-hmm. And I am actively interested in being with partner, period, singular, or partners with an S plural, who value my pleasure as much as I do.
Yep. And that is so true. When you're in love, you're like, oh, and I'll go on both sides of it. When you are in love and when you fall in love, the sex just becomes a very emotionally heightened thing. Sometimes it is better. But I will tell you, if you have sex with that same person after you fall out of love with them, you still may love them. But after you fall out of love with them, you're like, what the fuck? This is what I've been doing. And then even Shahara, born and raised in Houston, went to school out in Chicago, came back, and we were talking about sex, and we were talking about, we both don't know our body count numbers. Okay, it's fine, whatever. But we were like, damn. And then some of the people that you do remember, you only remember them because you're mad you have to count them.
Yes. Listen, we're not counting. We're not doing that. Fuck that. Nobody asked men to count.
No.
Nobody asked men to count. That's not none of your business. You know that I've been with at least 2 people because I've been married twice.
Do the math, buddy.
Do the math. You know, outside of that, who gives a fuck actually?
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing that I've come to recognize is that many men, not all men, some men say they want to be with a woman who is pure as the driven snow, ain't never been touched. He want to teach her all the things. And the same man will also want the woman who can do all the things. Well, my friend, you can't have it both ways. Either I gotta be out here practicing and learning some shit so I can come do some shit, or I'm not gonna know nothing.
Yes.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and if you are going to have it both ways, you need to be careful about how you define both ways, because as one of my favorite rappers, and I still get shit for this, I don't care, Ludacris, you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. Hoes do not act right. And this goes with both genders, because there are hoes just across the board.
Oh,
yeah, but you know what? Having a lot of sex does not mean that you are a hoe. And those are two differentiating factors, because I really think that if you are honest with somebody about what you are doing and the expectations, so if me and you, Tracie, are sleeping together, you will know if I'm sleeping with X, Y, and Z, and it's not for drama, and I don't need you to fight for me and do all this stuff. It's just, I need you to know what I'm doing, because I need to know what you're doing so that we can be safe and we can all do what we're going to do when we do it.
Exactly. And I feel really sorry for people who can't just say that. I think that most people would prefer to just be honest. It's easier to be honest, right? But we're so conditioned to believe that the other person is going to reject our honesty, or it's going to be a big issue. But then you don't even give me an opportunity to be honest. Like, try me. Tell me the truth and let's see how that goes.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if it's easier right at the beginning, to be honest. I think it's easier in the long run, because I know that I'm naturally and on accident a really honest person. And in those first seconds of saying the honesty, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid sometimes. And it may not be me, but like I'm watching the person as I'm telling my truth to them. And it's like, and I'm not just talking about sex, but whatever it is. You're like, oh, LaGina, do you like my glasses? I'm like, no, I don't actually. Like, you should get some new ones. Let's go shopping. I always do offer like a solution with whatever that is. But yeah, honesty would be the best policy if it was actually the one that people wanted. Ooh. That was, yeah. We'll take that. So what's something that overwhelms you?
What overwhelms me? White people who don't know that they are racist.
Elaborate.
So, because of the work that I found myself in, hosting conversations with people about race and culture, I am in conversations with a lot of people. I'm in conversations with a lot of people of many backgrounds. I want to also offer up front that I'm in conversations with some really decent humans, right? Some people who know that they need to do the work, who are trying to do the work, who are actively seeking ways to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are still some people out here in these streets walking around like, because they're being nice to folks, that erases the 400 plus years of white supremacy that we've all been taught.
Mm-hmm.
That bothers me. It's me.
Yeah.
It makes me feel crazy. Because you would think that by now, with all the things that are in your face, that people would at least be taking a beat, take a pause before they just automatically dismiss the idea of racism, or before they believe that racism has to look a particular way, like lynchings, right? Like seeing or even hearing that a 15, 16-year-old girl was shot because she had a knife, when we have white boys out here with whole ass guns who are getting Burger King. Like there's a breakdown.
Yeah, there is. There's a large breakdown, and not only getting Burger King, but being taken in alive to get Burger King.
That part.
Yeah, that is something that overwhelms me a lot. Are people, and I'm going to say people because I'm going to bring it closer. People that don't realize exactly who they are, and that even includes males that are chauvinists and don't realize they are. It includes white women that say that women are in a sisterhood and we're going to be together, but when it's time to show up in a boardroom and say, nah, that's not cool. It includes that. It includes gay males that are white that don't realize that their privilege can be from just being a white male, right? Yeah. And sometimes just presenting straight, you can get rid of your gayness just for a second to get into the door. So yeah, that overwhelms me a lot too. It is very triggering, very, very triggering. Question: who inspires you?
I am inspired by my daughters, which might sound like a cliche answer, but it is so true. I had my first daughter when I was 20, and so I was a child. And then before I was 25, I had 3 daughters. 3 people in car seats when I was 25 years old. 24 years old, I had 3 people in car seats. And I am so grateful to watch them become young women, to embody themselves, to give all the fucks and no fucks at all, like to be the ages that they currently are and to only have themselves to take care of. They inspire me daily, and I'm really grateful for who they are. My middle daughter, who is most like her mother, I see her spunk. I see her like openness to explore and to try things, but I also see that she has this thing about sometimes holding on to relationships a little longer than maybe she should, which I totally identify with.
Same. Same.
My youngest daughter is fiercely intelligent and also stubborn as hell. So both of those things I recognize in myself. My oldest daughter is very pragmatic. She is like the nuts and bolts of all the things, and she is accidentally maternal. She doesn't have children. I don't even know if she wants children, and none of that matters to me at all. But when she's with her sisters, I see that she's like the caretaker. And when I was a teenager, that seemed to be my role with my friends. Like I seemed to be the caretaker.
The natural maternal instincts. I mean, I have this natural maternal thing. No kids. I have 6 god kids, and in my friend groups in high school, they were like, "You're gonna be the first one to fall in love, get married, and have kids. Last one standing, motherfuckers. Ha ha ha." But but yeah, it's usually it falls on the oldest. And when you say that loyalty thing about your middle child, I'm the middle child, and I've always known I've been a very loyal person, but my sister said something to me one day, and it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was being really hard on myself because I left a job that I really didn't want to leave. Morally, I needed to leave. And she just, in passing, she's one of those, like, she'll drop a nugget and keep moving, and that's very much like my mom. So I'm like, okay, bitch, all right. And she was like, "You're loyal past the point of needing to be loyal to somebody." And I was like, change my world. So because I'm such a loyal person, now I have this checks and balance, because it's a relationship's not about you give me 50%, I give you 50%, not you get 100% of me all the time. And even though I'm the friend that is always checking up on people and always showing up for people, I need to have friends like that in my life. I need to have a partner like that in my life. And so if I'm not getting that, I'm a lot more willing nowadays to either verbalize that or chunk the deuce and keep it moving. Okay. So your daughters inspire you, which is amazingly beautiful. But who do you hope to be inspiring with all the work you're doing and just you as a human and the energy you bring to the universe?
Well, I hope that the inspiration is reciprocal with my daughters. I hope that they are seeing things in me that they would like to emulate. And I hope that I'm also showing up authentically enough that whoever is watching is inspired in some way. I hope that other people are paying attention and decide that, fuck it, if TJ can be herself, I can be myself too. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I love that. I hope that as well. When I'm showing up as myself, even when it's uncomfortable to do so, and even in spaces, as an entrepreneur and pitching to sometimes rooms with white males and just white people, and I'm talking about opening the space, a space for women to create, collaborate, and build community. And I'm focused on millennials and BIPOC people, right? Sometimes that's a narrative that makes people cringe, and I let them know why it shouldn't make them cringe. Coupled with a couple of my key cuss words that I always use because I'm a cusser. I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck, it's a building. And, then you get the laugh and then it keeps going. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. What do you want people to know about you?
I'm an introvert. So that is part of how the quiet part of the Quiet Rebel came to be. But even in my introversion, I still love people. I still am open to sharing as much about myself as is necessary in that moment. I pride myself on being authentic after having been phony for a long, long time and not really knowing it. So
yeah,
I want people to know that I am a work in progress and that I love my life.
Damn. Okay. A lot of snappable moments in there. That was so good. Y'all, we did that. Tracie Jae, thank you for coming on, sharing just some of your unapologetic story. As I tell people, I never think that 59 minutes, I try to keep it to 59 and below, but I never think that's enough time to tell a whole story. But the thing that I want to get out of this podcast is just really moving unapologetically over and over and over again through our stories and celebrating them. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, tell me, or share with the audience before we hop off the mic?
I start all my conversations with love, and love is an acronym. The L is listen with your heart. O is observe your own biases. V is venture into unfamiliar territory. And E is expect the best.
Love, y'all. Love always. All right, y'all, you know how it goes. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every last one of your time, as always. If you like what you were hearing, share it, please reach out to me. If somebody from these other countries that is listening to this podcast, if y'all don't start reaching out to me, I don't know what I'm going to do. We want to hear from you. In season 4, we're about to start telling the stories of women that were not born in the United States. I know we've already been telling tons of those stories, but we want a season just focused on women that may or may not be in the United States, but we're focusing on them being born where they were born, their lives, their stories, their journeys to where they are now. And as always, y'all, when you're moving through the world, when you're watching the news, when you are going back to work, and when you are deciding what type of human you are going to be, always remember to tell your story, be your own brand, live your truth, and stand in your moment.
All right, y'all. I'm Tracie Jae, the Quiet Rebel. I am 48 years old. I hope y'all love yourselves, smile a lot, get some rest, and that you show up as your whole fucking self. You just listen to my story as I live my truth and stand in my moment on the LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast season 3.
Episode 6, y'all. Tracie Jae, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's talk.
Beep. You're going to say 1 or 2 words that pop into your mind that are associated with the word that I say. If you can't think of anything, say pass. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Austin.
Weird.
Past.
Present.
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 Future.
Present.
Turtle.
Let's talk.
Neck.